Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is the latest Manchester United news as well as our preview for the Brighton game and a preview of the season as well. So lots of interactivity tonight. We'll also have the latest transfer news for you. Some interesting quotes coming out around quite a few things. But look, let's start off with this Manchester United versus Brighton game at the weekend and some really disappointing news that actually Anthony Martial will not be available. And look, I went up to Old Trafford today. You might have saw the video this morning. Nice sunny morning, nice atmosphere, theatre of dreams. Any United fan, whether you know you're outside Old Trafford, you can't help but feel the magic of the place if you're a Manchester United fan. And I just thought to myself, my whole positivity about this season is about a new manager that's not been backed. I mean, it's just we find ourselves tonight talking. We'll talk about Brighton in a minute. But we're basically arguing what is worse, our midfield or our attack. I mean, this is not how it's meant to be on the eve of the Premier League. We are not meant to be arguing what is our worst, what is our biggest weakness. Is it our midfield or our attack? These should have been solved. Like, I can't make any excuses for this. We've known about the midfield for a long, long time. Years we've known about the midfield. There's no excuse. And the attack, correct me if I'm wrong, we had Cristiano Ronaldo having to play 2 games a week for months because Martial had been loaned out, Cavani wouldn't get fit, Rashford was rubbish, and obviously Mason Greenwood got arrested. So it's not like there's just no excuse. I mean, sometimes there is an excuse, and sometimes you just got to go, we've been unlucky. But on the lack of attacking options and on the lack of midfield options, there is no excuse. We even heard in January, I mean, how many people said, let's buy a striker in January, let's buy a midfielder in January? What did we get told? No, we're not buying anyone in January because we're saving the money for the summer, and they still haven't spent it. I mean, the bad messages that come out of that football club and the poor performance it's just beyond expectation now. I mean, I really just do not expect anything from United this season. I'm almost going into the season not negative, because I think Ten Hag is the right man. I feel sorry for him, but I have no expectation of top 4. That is appalling. I was saying to somebody today, I said, I've never known a season where so many people are saying United will be lucky to get 5th. I know we've said it in the past to sort of, you know, but I've never meant it. I genuinely do not think we can get top 4. And what a horrible, depressing way that is to start the season. The positive is that Eric Ten Hag, if he achieves it, will defy logic. It would be magnificent. But I honestly sit here and I'm not keeping anything back. I'm not saying it to be dramatic. Right here, right now, I can't see how we get top 4. And nothing brings it home more than that. That is the team that everyone expects to play on Sunday. Daily Dose, thank you very much for being a member. To be honest, I'm a bit worried. I can easily see us drawing, and that would be a horrible start. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll go through that very quickly now. There's so much to get into, and I want to talk about the season in general, a bit of transfer news, but we can weave some of that into this. So, Anthony Martial is out with a injury. He's pulled a hamstring or something like that. So, Anthony Martial is out and won't play. We expect Jadon Sancho to be back, but we need him to be back. But then James Ducker from The Telegraph has come out today and said that there is a chance that actually there's more of a chance potentially that Elanga would start over Cristiano Ronaldo because of fitness. So that would mean Elanga playing off the wing and Rashford going down the middle. Now, I don't think Rashford's a very good forward. I think he's a winger. And I don't think Elanga looks like he's ready for this. I see Elanga. I like Elanga. I think there's a lot of people who don't think Elanga's good enough. There's a lot of people like me who think, you know, he's been thrown at the deep end. You've got to nurture him. I personally think the best thing for Elanga is to go and play in the Championship and play 40 games. But I certainly don't think he's ready to be, if Martial's injured, you're starting, mate. If Sancho's injured, you're starting, mate. I don't think he's ready for that. And I mean, I look at that team, and that's my predicted lineup. It's not my lineup. De Gea in goal, Delot, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, Fred, McTominay, Bruno, Elanga, Sancho, Rashford. It looks like a weakened Rangnick team. That's the thing. That to me looks like a weakened Rangnick team where Ronaldo's injured. You know, Matic has played at the weekend. Pogba's still injured, and and Varane's injured. It looks. I mean, please don't clip that. It's horrible to say, but it's not horrible to say. It's actually what I think. That's probably our starting lineup on Sunday, and that reminds me of a weakened Rangnick team. You know, I just can't believe that we're starting a team like that on the opening day of the season. I mean, and all I would say is we're just not ready. We are just not ready for the start of this season. That's the cold, harsh facts. We're not ready for the start of this season when you're putting a team out like that. Do you think Erik ten Hag's reign could be defined by the Frenkie de Jong deal, says Salah? Well, I want to talk about that in a bit, Salah, because we still have hope in relation to signing players. That's what can change things. Jared, thank you for being a member for 2 months. But look, let me just say about Brighton. Can that team beat Brighton? Yes, it can. But we mustn't underestimate Brighton, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But focusing on that team, what would you change? What would I change? Well, straight away, Varane has to start and Lisandro Martinez has to start. I mean, Ten Hag can do what he wants. I suspect he's going to do that. I'm not pulling my hair out. I'm not screaming and shouting. I think that will be the lineup, more or less. There might be 1 or 2 changes, but I think that will be the team. Why do I think he'll pick that team and not pick Eriksen or Martinez? I think it's to do with, and I've been speaking to a few people about Ten Hag, and they said that's probably the most likely team he will pick, if you know what Ten Hag's like. Because he's basically been picking that team from Liverpool in the pre-season. He's been picking a team week in, week out, and he probably won't change it because they're the team that he's been picked and the most fittest team. Eriksen, Lisandro Martinez, Ronaldo, they're all behind on fitness. And I think he will want to start the season with a team that's fit. This is me. Thank you for being a member. Madness, we're going into a season without a new central midfielder, says Joshua Bellwater. If Rashi's playing a striker, it's over. He ain't a striker. We need to buy a striker, says Jared. So I think that's the team he will pick. But I would pick Varane and Lisandro Martinez. I don't want to live in a football world where Maguire is picked over Varane. I just can't understand it. No hate, nothing else. I just don't understand why Maguire gets picked over Varane. It's just illogical. Lisandro Martinez is left-footed and should be playing over Lindelof. I probably would start Malacia over Shaw, to be honest with you. In the midfield, without De Jong, I would just pick Eriksen or Donny over McTominay. I think he's been really poor in pre-season, and I just don't agree that we should be picking a player in there because he likes to tackle and make fouls. He's physical. If I want to get physical, I'll watch Flashdance. So I don't want McTominay in the midfield. So I'd play Eriksen in a home game against Brighton, you could play Eriksen. You could put Fred, Holding, and play Eriksen and Bruno either side. And I'd play Ronaldo. I'd put Rashford on the left, I'd put Sancho on the right, and I'd put Ronaldo up front over putting Elanga in the team because we want to try and win at the end of the day. So they're the changes I would make. But look, I'm not the manager. Ten Hag is the manager. And if he picks that team, I hope it wins. Remember when the board was shocked that United fans were worried about the transfer window at the end of May? This is why, says Asif. I mean, you make a great point, Asif. I know exactly what you're talking about. There was a story that came out at the beginning of June, I actually think it was, that Man United was surprised about all the negativity and frustration and moaning in the fan base. I remember somebody saying, no, the club obviously know what they're doing. 2 months later, we've not really done anything. Marky, I think Bruno will play a false 9 and Eriksen will come in at 10. That is an option. That is an option, Gummy, and I'd rather do that. This is the issue with our squad. Moving around, Rashford has put him in this trouble for a couple of years, says Daniel. He needs to stay on the left and start Ronaldo up front. What does McTominay bring to the team apart from screaming and shouting in the tunnel? And if you could bring one player to the team, who would it be? Says Leon. Interested in your view on whether we have now entered the stage of the window where it's impossible now to have a great window, says James. And Mark, I know you weren't doing it, but this season I don't want to hear United fans overhyping players just because they have a good patch. Well, I won't do that, Connor, as you know. I mean, it's funny, I was talking to, I think it was Charlie or Adam this morning, and one of them said that you can guarantee we'll beat Brighton 4-0 like we beat Chelsea and Leeds on the opening day. McTominay and Fred will have a good game and everyone will say we're all right. And I said, I actually think we'll start the season off well. I think we'll beat Brighton and Brentford. I think we might get a draw against Liverpool. I think we'll end up at the end of August with good points and people will be like positive, and then the transfer window will close and reality will bite and we'll realise what a crap window we've had. Brighton are going to spank us, says Pokey. Maguire gets picked over Varane because the board don't want to admit he's the worst transfer in our history. Hi Mark, who's going to score the goals in that team? Says Shane. And don't you feel Garnacho is more ready than Elanga? Well, I probably would go with Garnacho over Elanga. I like Elanga, but I just think he'd be better off having a loan. I just want to go back to that question from James before I talk about a little bit more about the Brighton game. Is it? So James says, is it now the point of the window where it's impossible to have a great window? Yes. I'd love. There's nothing more I'd love to get proved wrong than on this statement I'm about to say, but I think it's impossible for us to have a great window now. And a great window for me would have been an 8 or 9 out of 10. I think it's impossible to get an 8 or 9 out of 10 now. I mean, but I have to define what it would be. For me, a great window for United now would be De Jong and Antony, Ronaldo staying, but still making 50, 60 million from sales. We're not going to do that in 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks tonight the transfer window closes. 4 weeks. That's going to fly by. I think at best we'll get De Jong. I don't see Antony anymore. We might get that Sesko. I don't know what's going to happen with Ronaldo. But I think actually when you look at the summer transfer window, Rangnick's had to deal with Ten Hag's had to deal with more problems than positives. Malacia is a positive, Eriksen's a positive, Lisandro Martinez is a positive, De Jong is a negative, Antony is a negative, not getting Darwin Nunez was a negative, the Ronaldo situation is a negative, not being ready for the start of the season is a negative. He's had way more negatives to deal with than positives. I really do feel sorry for him. I do. And I think he's... I was thinking about this today. Rory says, why would Martinez not start? Was there no pre-season with Ajax? I don't know, Rory. I don't know. I would start him. And it says a lot about our summer when our lineup for the new season has no new transfers in it, says Eric. But I was thinking about it today, Eric, actually. I mean, we're so fixated on what has been a really bad transfer window. Who's going to play up front? What's going to happen with Ronaldo? Why have we got no midfield? We're almost forgetting, and maybe we'll come on to it when we talk about the season ahead in a few minutes. We're almost forgetting that this is a new manager in a new league that he's never managed in before. Now, he can put up as much of a front as he likes. He can be as confident as he likes. But there must be somewhere in his head where he's like, does Eric... I remember Rangnick saying this as well. I think his first 2 games were against mid-table teams. And he said, in Germany, you don't get this. You know, if you're Dortmund or Leverkusen or Leipzig and you play a team in the bottom half, you know you're playing a team in the bottom half because they're not as good. That will definitely be the case in the Eredivisie. When you're Ajax and you're playing teams from the bottom, I mean, basically, they only play about 4 hard games a season. PSV, Feyenoord, AZ Alkmaar, and the rest of them, you expect to win and win well. It's interesting that we've got Brighton and Brentford because it could be I think Ten Hag is very much about planning. But let's not forget, the lack of transfer activity, all the problems he's had, he is a new manager in a new league. And does he know what this league's like? Probably. Has he experienced it? No. Does he know what it's like to go and play Brentford at Brentford on the second day, on their opening game of the season at home? Obviously, it's their second game, but it's their first game at home. I mean, it terrifies me. What I'm trying to say is it terrifies me that we're going into the new season with that team. Because for that team to be successful, about 9 of those players have got to up their game 100% from last season. It's a huge risk. And I feel really bad. I feel really sorry for him that he's got to go into the season with that because there's no way he wanted to go into it. 4-4-2 diamond with Fred, Donny, Bruno and Eriksen in midfield, Sancho and Rashford up front would be great. Well, I think if we're going to beat Brighton, let's just talk about the game very quickly. Thanks, Sanjay. I think it's going to be the same again. Ronaldo saving the day because angry Ronaldo is something else, as Jash. I think the way to beat Brighton is the midfield, and I would swamp the midfield. I mean, if you just go with McTominay and Fred, we could be in really big trouble. So I think the way to win this game is to win the midfield. Now, Brighton smashed Sevilla last weekend. They've had quite a good pre-season, Brighton. Very, very quickly about Brighton and my prediction, then we'll get into the season prediction, we'll go through some transfer news. But my feelings about Brighton are this. Graham Potter is a very, very good manager. Did you know that last season they drew more games than anybody else? They lost less games than us and Arsenal, and they finished 9th in the league, which is a great achievement for Brighton to be in the top half. So, you know they're going to be a good team, you know they can play through the lines, you know they're a confident side, and you know that they can beat you. However, I don't think Brighton travel that well to Old Trafford. We've got a very good record against them. And also, they're going to miss 2 big players this season, Cucurella and Bissouma. They still have got some good players. Their goalkeeper's very good. I quite like that Argentinian lad in the midfield. Is it McAllister or something like that? Gross is decent. Casido looks like he could be the heir to Bissouma's throne. And then they've got people like Trossard who can cause you problems as well. So I think that they're capable, but we should win this game, and I think we'll win it 2 or 3-0, to be honest. Don't laugh at me. I think we will win. Even if it's just opening day elation and boost and new manager, I think we will win for that reason. Old Trafford's a magical place. We did it to Leeds. We did it to Chelsea. We still had a bad season, but we did have a good start. And I think we'll have a good start. I think it's 3 points in the bag, hopefully. But we can't underestimate Brighton. I think the good thing about Brighton is they don't tend to score that many goals. I know they beat us at their place 4-0 or whatever it was, but in general, they're not really a team that hands out and scores loads of goals. So I think we will win it, but I think it's a good welcome to the Premier League for Erik ten Hag, because one thing Brighton will do is play football with high intensity, so it's going to be very interesting to see how we play in that game. First 2 games will potential banana skins, says Salim. That's why I didn't put United players in my fantasy team. And hi Martin, I had the best day today, going to United on Sunday, hoping they can cheer me up, but I doubt it. Can always rely on you though. Thank you, Charlie. Well, whatever the problem is, Charlie, I hope you're feeling a bit better now. And I do think we'll win on Sunday, but one sunny day doesn't make a summer. And to bring it back to my major concern, we're just not ready. I'm bored of saying it myself. It sort of stops me swearing and getting over frustrated and high blood pressure, but there's not much more I can say, and I think most people would agree. We're not ready for this season. I couldn't believe it. I'd driven back from Manchester. I got back at about 3 o'clock, and I went on my phone and I had a message. I'd messaged Ricky saying, really enjoyed your preview, which we put up this afternoon. And then he's gone, gutted, Martial's out. And I was like, I checked it out, he is out. And I thought, what? I like Martial. Everyone knows I like Martial. But what did I say a few days ago? I said, everyone who's saying Martial can do the job that Ronaldo does, it's going to be his season. I like Martial, but there's 2 big issues. Consistency, and he's injury prone. Unfortunately, over the last 2 years, Martial has become very injury prone. And it's not even the opening game of the season and you can't rely on him. Now, that's gutting. Gutting, because I think he's a good player, but you can't rely on him. And this is the problem we had last year. You're getting ready for a game at the weekend. You're making your plans, you're picking your 11s, and then on the Thursday or Friday you hear such and such is out, and you can't build a team on those players that are not reliable. And unfortunately, Cavani was in this class last year, and Martial could be in it now. We're short up front anyway. I can't believe how short we are up front. I cannot believe it. All these fans were going Martial, Rashford, and Sancho, and you're like, what if one of them gets injured? What if 2 of them get injured? Like we're down to the bare bones, and it's so embarrassing. That's the worst thing. It's so embarrassing that we're picking a team like that. But it's so embarrassing, not for the fans, not for Ten Hag, but for the club. It's so embarrassing that we've not kicked a ball competitively. We could play up to 60 games and a team looks like that on the opening day. And actually, we've only got 1 injury, Anthony Martial. It's not like we've got loads of injuries. We've got 1 injury, which just shows you the depth of the squad is abysmal. Brighton plays a lot big teams off the park and take battered. That exact team on your screen, they play brilliant football. Thank you, Nathan. We won't sign Frankie de Jong until January or next summer. It's a pattern for this board, says Mehdi. Mark, I just despair. We're going to be starting with the same team as last year. This is meant to be a time of excitement for the season. Darren, I would focus on the excitement of Ten Hag. That is basically the only thing that's keeping me positive, is that we've got a manager that wants to play good football. But, you know, even if he pulls a miracle off, even if McTominay and Fred turn into Kimmich and Goretzka, even if Bruno gets back to prime Bruno where he's competing with De Bruyne, even if we score loads of goals and the defence don't concede goals, they won't be able to do it for 30 games. They won't be able to do it twice a week. Even if, and that won't happen, by the way, that team's not going to suddenly turn into the best team in the world. But even if it did, there's no depth. And that's the thing. You could sit there with Richard Arnold or John Murta and they could say, we trust the manager to get these players playing really well. And you can say you're talking nonsense. But even if you're not talking nonsense, there's no depth. There's no depth in that team. The midfield and the attack has gotten 0 depth. How have you allowed the season to start like this? And the scary thing is, people can say the window's still open. It's not like we're going to buy 4 or 5 players in August. We'll get De Jong and then that'll be it. There'll still be no depth. I really feared where we'd have a bad window since Rangnick left, says Mario. That was a terrible mistake. Thank you, Tayan. Thank you, Mark. And welcome to the Members Club, Shane Gordon. Well, I don't know whether you heard what Arteta said today. It's scary because Spurs have had a really good window. Man City and Liverpool have already got good squads. Chelsea are talking about spending 300 million. And Arsenal, who've already had a good window anyway. I mean, they've bought that Vieira. They've bought... who else have they bought? Jesus. I believe they've bought somebody else, and I've just had a complete brain blank. But Arteta said they're looking to make more signings in August. So they've not even done. They've not even finished their business yet. So it's scary. I'm scared about this season. And I suppose at this point, before we talk about some of the news today, Mark Lawton, positive, legend of the chat. He's just gifted 10 United Stand memberships. Can I just say about the members as well? Don't forget to get your fantasy Premier League teams done. I'd do it tonight or by lunchtime tomorrow. The first Premier League game is Friday night, so don't get caught out. If you're in the members club and you want to play in the fantasy Premier League, it's the only one I'm actually entering. So it's on the members section. Make sure you go onto the members section and get yourself entered through one of the videos that we've got there. We've also got that Sancho versus Anthony video as well. And we will be giving out prizes and stuff this year. In all seriousness, can you see United making any more signings? What's your gut feeling? Let me come back to that, Phil. My problem with the team isn't talent. If the start of the season is bad, many have proven they will turn on the manager. So many bad apples, says James. You know what my major problem is? And you could list your problems with this season. I'll actually be generous to the club. I'll be generous to the players and say, look, I could list so many problems with that team. My biggest problem is actually this. We're clearly going to fail because we haven't got a squad. You can't go into the Premier League and the Europa League with that squad. It's just not got the depth. It hasn't. And I do believe that we'll have a good start to the season because it only matters about your squad when you get to September, October, when you start playing in the Europa League or the Champions League, because that's when you start playing Carabao Cup games as well. That's when it starts to hurt. August, you're playing one game a week. We'll be fine. We'll be fine in August. As long as we get the results, we'll be fine. But as soon as September and October come, we're going to get really hurt. And what happens in September and October? The transfer window's shut. So it plays lovely into the Glazers' hand if we have a good start to the season and they go, look, we're fine, we're fine. And then they realise we're not fine, but the window's closed. Are you ready for our Masterpiece Friday? Tillemans and Maddison will be joining the Arteta Revolution, says Zane. Well, you might be right with that. You might be right with that. But look, I want to just give you my season prediction. I think we'll beat Brighton. I'm going to go 2-0 against Brighton. They're a good team, but I think we will. I think the excitement, Ten Hag's first game, opening game of the season, will be enough for those players to actually put a performance in. So I think we will win. I think we're very lucky that we're not playing away from home, by the way. Arsenal play Palace tomorrow. I mean, if they win that, I'll be very impressed. But we're very lucky we're playing at home because if you look at the problems we've got, if we'd have been playing away games against Palace or Brighton, I'd have been very worried. So I think we are, the fixture list has been quite kind to us with a home fixture. Never forget, it was Ollie and Woodward who pushed for Murta and Fletcher to be in sporting roles. It's no surprise we're still inept at transfers, says Prayad. So frustrating seeing other clubs progressing and all we get are fake promises from the board, says Christian. Kartik says, Mark, the opponent players still know they are playing against the same defenders and they are weak. What a mediocre club we've become, having to play youth because we don't have players. Youth should be playing as subs here and there. It's a joke, says Sarvesh. Green Avenger, thanks for becoming a member. I know this sounds crazy, but the actions of these executives almost feels like it's sabotage, says Stephen. Nate, thank you for becoming a member. Hi Mark, who do you think Ten Hag will field McFred over Christensen and Alessandro? Is it due to his confidence in them or lack of training? I think it's for lack of training, Eric. I don't think he's picking... I mean, look, he might start Eriksen and he might start Lisandro Martinez. I think he would like to start them, but I think he values fitness. The Real Marcus and James, welcome to the Members Club. Salah says, should Erik Ten Hag get a bit of the blame if Frankie de Jong deal doesn't happen? I think he has to get a bit of the blame, Salah, but I think it's really wrong to be talking about Erik Ten Hag in a negative light ahead of this new start to the season when you see that team he's got to pick and the lack of options in the attack and the midfield. That's just not acceptable. Mark, why did United say we're not going to spend in January and save for the summer and only spend 55 billion? Because we're owned by the Glazers, mate. The Glazers have had over 25 million since January in dividends. So, we're owned by the Glazers. This is the problem. That's the problem. Chris says that's not going to be the team. That's the predicted team, Chris. That's the predicted team that everyone expects. It probably won't be the team. It's very hard to predict the team, but that's the predicted team. Mark, are we the third best team in England? Why is it surprising if we beat Palace? Jesus will top scorer this season. It's turning into the Arsenal show. Anyway, thank you, Zane. So, where do I think... Let's just talk about the season in general. And I don't intend to focus on this for long because I'm not massively positive about it. But I know Ricky and Adam spoke about it today. So I'm just going to quickly go through mine and you can get your comments in. I really can't deal with McFred, says Zach. And Dimitri has been a member for 3 months. So, I think we'll finish... we'll finish 6th. Yeah, I'm going to go with 6th because I think it's... If we finish above that, at least it's better. I think that well, look, the top 4 last year were Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Spurs. They already start the season better than us because they finished top 4 and they've had a better window than us, all of them. So I don't see the logic of a United fan saying to me, you're being negative. You should be predicting we finish in the top 4. I can't see how we finish in the top 4. On paper, as a prediction, of course we can finish in the top 4. Anything is possible. I believe Ten Hag is a good coach. But I can't predict we're going to finish in the top 4 because Spurs have had a better window and are better than us already. Same with Chelsea, same with Liverpool, same with Man City. And on top of that as well, I think they're better teams with better squads, and they've had better summers. I also think they've got better coaches. I would like to see Ten Hag, and I believe Ten Hag can be a better coach than them. But at the moment, Conte, Klopp, Tuchel and Pep, they're all better coaches as well, on paper. So that straight away puts us out the top 4. In the battle for 5th, I just think Arsenal are better than us at the moment. They finished above us last season. And they've had a better summer transfer window. And they've solved some problems like scoring goals. I think in Jesus, they've got a good player. So I think we naturally fall into 6th place. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I don't like saying that. I hate it. I've said it before. The standards, we should not be accepting the standards of that. We should not be accepting 6th place. It's a disgrace that we're predicting 6th. But logically, I have to go with 6th. Is there any danger that we could go any lower? I mean, West Ham, you've always got to be scared of. Not scared of, wary. I'm never going to be scared of West Ham. I'm never conceding that. Villa, I think Villa are a team to watch this year. I'll probably get it completely wrong, but I did say Leicester last year and I got it wrong. I don't feel that the Newcastles, the Leicesters, the Wolves of this world are going to hurt us. So I think 6th is, realistically, the place I would put United. Akshay says, my prediction, if we close the window as of now, we will not get top 6. Worse than last year. No depth, no clarity. Newcastle, West Ham will catch up, says Akshay. Ronaldo will always be loved by me. Cantona kicked someone in the crowd. Fergie kicked a boot at Beckham. Ronaldo and others left at half-time. So what? I don't want to talk about that anymore, Mark, but they didn't leave at half-time. Why does everyone say they left at half-time? I've never heard anybody say they left at half-time. I thought they left on like the 75th minute. But maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't really want to talk about it anyway. Mark, unfortunately, you said in January it might get worse before it gets better. Couldn't agree more. Oh, Stefan, don't remind me. God, don't remind me, Stefan. I remember saying that in January. I said I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. But I actually thought when we got Ten Hag, that would mean it got better. It could still get worse. It's a scary thing to think we're not at the bottom of the barrel yet. Surely we're on the way back. Surely. But it's a hard job for Ten Hag. We are Manchester United, and at the start of a new season with a new manager, we are holding on to hope. Rory, thank you very much. Eric Ten Hag is absolutely backed. Murta and Arnold are focused on his primary targets. Eric Ten Hag is just stubborn and refuses to accept alternatives. Well, he's not being backed, is he, Finley? Because we've walked. We didn't get Timber. We didn't get Nunes. We haven't got Dumfries, and we haven't got Anthony. So there's 4 of his priorities that we're not going to get by the sounds of it. We can't get some of them. Realistically, I'm not going to be disappointed if we finish 6th, but getting to at least the Europa League final is a must for me. I mean, Jack, it's your opinion. I respect that. Neg, welcome to the Members Club. I'm sorry. I'm predicting 6th, and I feel dirty. I feel really dirty. I feel absolutely disgusted predicting that we're going to finish 6th. I cannot. I mean, it's the start of the season. It's like Christmas Eve. We're meant to be excited. And I'm predicting we're going to finish 6th. I feel bad for doing it, but I don't think I'm the only one. And logically, I think that's where we fit. Now, if we do better than that, great. If we buy some players I might change that. But right here, right now, on the eve of the Premier League, I have to say 6th. Now, what I would say about that, it's disgusting. And the Glazers have to take the blame. As Man United fans, we should... How many times have I said this? We are the Juventus of England, the Barcelona of England, the PSG of England, the Bayern Munich of England. When would any of those teams or their fans predict they're going to finish 6th at the start of the season? It's a disgrace how Manchester United have fallen from their rightful place. Our rightful place is to challenge for the league every year. And we're predicting 6th. And we're predicting 6th on logic, not on desperation, not on depression, not on scaremongering. We're predicting 6th on logic. That there's 4 better teams than us who've had a better window than us, and Arsenal have had a better window than us and were better than us last year. So we're logical to predict 6th. It's a disgrace. And it comes down to the Glazers and the fact that we've just not done enough. And Martial gets injured and you're talking about putting Rashford up front, Elanga on the wing. You know, there's not enough depth up front. The midfield is McFred again. There's not enough depth, not enough quality in the midfield. Alan Smith was at Sky Sports and HR ago, and when he was asked about who will finish in the top 4, he didn't even mention us. Look, well, this is the thing, Druv. Forget what you think as fans. All the pundits and experts who get things wrong, nobody's putting United in the top 4. Like, nobody. We didn't rebuild the squad last summer. How are we going to buy next summer when the sponsors slash funding? Says Daniel, things could only get worse. They could. Mark, last year was so bad we have to get at least 10 more points, even if we are only okay. Where does that put us? Says Sean from Ireland. Well, look, away from the Premier League, I'm predicting 6th. I don't know what everyone else is. Should we do a quick poll again? I know we've done it before, but I've never done it in relation to position. So let's just do it, and let's be a bit positive and say we'll finish in the top 6. So where will we finish? I'm going to put 3rd, 4th. Even I'm being positive here because we could finish lower. 5th, and we'll go 6th as well. So get your vote in there. While you're doing that, let me just have a sip of water. Cups. So I'm going to go 6th in the Premier League. Where we're going to go in the Cups? We won't win the FA Cup. We won't win the Carabao Cup, unfortunately, because everybody takes it seriously now. Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. So I don't think we'll win a domestic cup. We might get to a semi-final or a final, to be fair. We're good enough to do that, I think. We were good enough to do that under Ollie. So I think we can get to the semi-final or the final, but I don't think we'll win it because I think better teams will try and win it. So therefore, the Europa League's our best chance. What do I think we'll do in the Europa League? Again, I think we could go to the final. We could go to the semi-final. But ultimately, along the way, Arsenal are in the Europa League. If we play Arsenal, they might beat us. Who's going to drop down from the Champions League? So I think the Europa League is very difficult. It's probably our best chance of Champions League football and a trophy. So who thought you'd ever be saying that? But the Europa League is probably our best chance of doing anything this season. It's certainly scary. Well, you might disagree with me, to be fair. You might not agree, but I believe that our best chance of getting in the Champions League is to win the Europa League. Episode 2 on All or Nothing is only 30 minutes, so could we start Red Dead after that for another 30? We'll have a see, Nathan. United so far have got a 55 million net spend, but also a 36 million net reduction in wages per year with the exits so far. 90 million net spend. Pure Glazers draining the club dry, says Elliot. Timber didn't want the United move. We bid for Nunez, but he chose Liverpool. We've been priced out of Anthony. This is not on Arnold. Finley, you are coming across as a United employee. Of course it's on the board. They didn't start negotiating with Anthony until the middle of fucking July. If they'd have done it at the end of May, we would have got him for 50 or 60 million. Imagine United had an all or nothing. Wouldn't it be an eye-opening to see how shambolic United's board is run, says Patrick. That's why they'd never do it. Mark, like the positivity, but there's a good chance we start the season, win, draw, loss, 4 points from 9. I don't think we will, Stephen. I really don't think we'll lose to Brighton or Brentford. Look, I could be completely wrong. I am going into the season with a bit of positivity. You know, so much of it depends on Ten Hag, doesn't it? I don't trust those players. I don't think anybody does. But we're just hoping that Ten Hag is going to produce something And that's where the positivity is. Glazers are happy to write another season off. And I think legendary Baldy, you make a great point there. I said this when we got Rangnick and we didn't buy in January, that they were writing the season off. They did write the season off because you can tell very obviously why they wrote the season off. They brought Rangnick in, who was going to be part of the 3-year rebuild. They sacked him at the end of the season. So they wrote that season off. They didn't care. Rangnick was brought in to do fuck all. They didn't spend any money in January. So we've already got a board that will write a season off in November. They wrote the season off last year. Nobody can tell any fan any different. They wrote last season off. Everything Rangnick was building, they said, no, fuck that. They didn't buy any players for him in January. They fucked him off. They wrote the season off. Are they writing this season off? Well, you never write a season off before you've kicked a ball. But I'd love to know, and I'd be surprised. I'd love to. I tell you what, I don't know whether we've got any of the journalists watching. I might try and message some of them. I would love it tomorrow, and I'd be surprised if it doesn't get asked. But if I was in the press conference tomorrow, the question I would ask Ten Hag is, what is your target in the league this season? Forget the Europa League, because you're always trying to win a cup. What is your target in the league this season? Because I would love to know if the expectation is top 4. Because looking at the squad, not a chance. And I don't really want people to, have unrealistic expectations, because it could really damage the reputation of Ten Hag. I think, I said this about Arteta last year. If he got top 4 with that Arsenal team, I think he deserves a statue. Now, there might have been some Arsenal fans that were expecting top 4, but as an outsider, I looked at it and went, he can't get top 4 with that team. They nearly did. I have to be fair, I hate this, I hate saying this, but I think it's completely unfair to say that Ten Hag should get top 4 with this United squad. I hate saying it, because every United squad should get top 4. But if you're going into this season as a United fan expecting top 4, I think that's going to have a negative impact on Ten Hag, because I don't think it's realistic. And I think if he does do it, he deserves the plaudits and the praise for pulling off what I believe is almost a miracle. Mark, we're screwed, and the biggest frustration is that we can't do anything about it. The middle of the table is inevitable. I don't think we'll drop that far, DZ. I don't think we'll drop that far. Welcome to the Members Club, Shane. Mark, will you give Ten Hag a bit of leeway this year, no matter how bad it gets? Well, Stephen, I've literally just tried to drop a warning there, so hoping that other people will. And look, we can all disagree. I know I say things that people get pissed off with, but at least I explain why I do it. You don't have to agree with it. Ronaldo, but on Ten Hag, I've always wanted him, I've always backed him, and I am behind him. I don't agree with that team. I don't agree with picking Maguire over Varane. I don't agree with picking McFred, but it's he's the manager, and he must do what he is best. That doesn't mean I don't back him. But remember, I stuck with Solskjaer too long and I got pelters. I stuck with Mourinho too long and I got pelters. I've never had a manager like Ten Hag who I absolutely loved the way he plays football. I didn't love the way Solskjaer played football. I didn't love the way Mourinho played football. You never know how your brain's going to work, and you never know what events are going to make you turn. But I would imagine if I know me, I will stick with Ten Hag for a long time. Never say never. If he starts coming out with stupid comments and, we're getting whacked all over the place, then, only an idiot would say maybe he's out of his depth. But I wouldn't. I think it's going to be very hard this side of this. I mean, I nearly said Christmas. I think it'd be very hard this season unless we were getting stuffed every week for about 10 weeks. I think it'd be very hard this season to turn on Ten Hag, because look at that. Look at that. Look at the lack of options in the midfield. Look at the lack of options in the attack. And I think that the real issue here is, if the manager was Jurgen Klopp or Thomas Tuchel, and they were going into the season with that team and no options up front and no midfield, would you expect them to win the league? No. Would you expect them to get top 4 against the other 4 teams that are better than us? No. So that's an important thing to remember as well. All right, Ten Hag's untested in the Premier League. He might fail, but let's not pretend that the big problem going into this season it's got nothing to do with the manager. It's to do with the lack of signings, and the lack of depth in the midfield and the attack is appalling. And it wouldn't matter if you had the best manager in the world. If Pep Guardiola was in charge and Martial's out injured and Ronaldo's not match fit, his only option is to do what we've done there, or play another youth player. If he doesn't want to pick McFred, he's got to play Ericsson or Donny. Is that too attacking? So the options are not there. Whether you're Pep Guardiola or Ten Hag, the options are not there. And if the options are not there and that team is weak, then of course you could get turned over in this league. So it's going to be very interesting, because I think imagine if we got beat. Well, here's a scenario then. Imagine we got beat by Brighton imagine Brighton play better than us and they beat us 1-0 on Sunday. Your reactions, Shane, welcome to Members Club. Your reactions would be, I don't know. Maybe some of the press would say Ten Hag was naive. Okay. I would say it's not actually a surprise if Brighton beat us 1-0 on Sunday when you look at the problems within the team and the lack of options. I think we'll win, but it's not impossible that Brighton have a good game and beat us. Because that team is not a team that Brighton will look at and go, fucking hell, we may as well not bother. We'll save ourselves for there is a chance Brighton beat us. It's not set in stone that we'll win. And that's got nothing to do with the managers. Ten Hag's a good manager, Potter's a good manager. We just don't have the quality in our team where we can say, well, we'll beat Brighton, even if it's on a bad day. Man City can, Liverpool can, Chelsea can. But when Brighton come to us, we can't just say, well, even if we have a bad day, we've got better players, because we haven't. Worst thing that could happen is to get top 4 with this squad and window. It will give the Glazers confirmation of their way of running the club. We ain't getting top 4, Sam. We can reassess it if and when De Jong comes in and if and when we buy another forward. You know, I would say that. I'm predicting 6th. If De Jong comes in and Anthony came in and we kept Ronaldo, I think there's an outside chance of top 4. But as things stand at the moment, I just can't. I'm lying to myself. I'm sure the board can write the season off on the 4th of August. They just don't see it coming, says Stefan. It's hard to believe that after the worst season in decades, we start with that same team, says Tom. You know what? It's a great statement, that. The worst United season I've ever seen in my life, and our response to it is that. And I'm not picking on those players there. There's some good players there, but even they would look at it and be surprised that they're picking the same team as the end of last season with no new signings. Ten Hag is going to have to win the lottery with that lack of depth, Myron. And that's the thing. It's not really about lack of players. It's lack of depth and lack of quality. Callum, thanks for the super chat. Wakas says, hi Mark, it's getting embarrassing to face Liverpool and Spurs fans at Flatmates every day. I'm thinking of moving out. And Davin says, we have to be ready for another bad window. If we don't get Champions League, we have to win the Europa to get there. Your thoughts, Mark? We can't afford to be out the Champions League now. The fact that we're sat here before a ball's been kicked, predicting that we're probably going to... I mean, that's a scary thought, isn't it? If we're all saying we're not going to get top 4, that means next year we're not going to be in the Champions League as well, unless we win the Europa League. We can't afford to be out the Champions League for 2 years in a row. We've never been in that situation, and we're staring down the barrel of that. I read an article today, actually, just to bring something topical in, that Ten Hag is apparently not happy with the slow progress in the transfer window. Now, that could just be, I think it was Miguel Delaney who said it, but, I mean, it doesn't matter who says it. I mean, it's completely, he's never going to say it publicly, but, I mean, why would he be happy? Why would he be happy with the summer transfer window he's had? It's just not the window he wanted. And what will really frustrate him is that the season starts and he's not got the players he wants. So, yeah, it's difficult. And I've got to say again, the Martial injury is not surprising, but it's just typical of what happens when you gamble on being okay, when you've not got enough options. So you guys think we're not getting top 4? Just wait for the title challenge. Once De Jong and forwards come in, our team ain't that bad, says the Ace. I'll have a pint of what you're drinking, mate. I'd love to think that. I really would. Nothing would make me happier. On De Jong, a bit of a weird day. Somebody asked what's happening with De Jong. I will just address that. Bit of a weird day with De Jong. So Chelsea are keeping Azpilicueta, but Alonso looks like he's still going to go to Barcelona. Cucurella's going to go to Chelsea, so that's why Alonso will go. Barcelona really wanted Azpilicueta, but Chelsea have kept him. I don't know. Chelsea apparently really do want De Jong, but they'll only go for him if he wants to go to Chelsea. United are still convinced that they're going to get De Jong because of why they've been chasing him for 3 months. So I don't think anything's going to change with De Jong drastically over the next few days. I don't think anything's going to drastically change with Sesko either. The season starts on Sunday, and I think that's what United are focused on. I think the scary thing is that when the window, when the season starts, the transfer window moves quicker. 4 weeks today it closes, but that 4 weeks is going to fly by because we've now got games, reactions, press conferences, previews. You know, you talk about a game for 2 days and then you talk about the next game for 2 days. So time's going to fly. Those 4 weeks are going to go like that. Now, if United want it to go like that because they just want to get to the end of the window and then no one can moan, then they're going to get their way. If they are planning on doing business, they've not got a lot of time to do it. Sub, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. A big shout out to Mark Lawton for gifting 10 memberships, by the way. Legend again. Our squad is very comparable to the Brightons and Wolves at the moment. They definitely will feel confident of a result. No, okay. Look, I absolutely would not. I think, with all due respect, and I say it not in a nasty way, anyone who's predicting we're going to finish in mid-table, you are just being a bit over the top. There's no way that we should be finishing any lower than 6th. We have got a better squad than Wolves and Leicester and Villa and West Ham. We've got better players. We've got people like Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen. We have got a lot. We've got some really good players. We just don't have enough and enough depth. But we're not gonna. If we finish below 6th, it would be. I wouldn't say it'd be sackable, but it'd be really surprising. I'd want to know the circumstances, certainly. Santos, welcome to the Members Club. A few people spoke about Sesko. I mean, I tell you what as well. I don't know. I think it was Samuel Luckhurst who said this. I don't know what your thoughts are about this. I mean, I don't really want to talk about it because he's not here for a year. But Samuel Luckhurst said today that Dean Henderson would resist any sale with a buyback clause. So he's on loan at Forest for a year. But if United were to sell him, he would refuse to have a buyback clause in it. I tell you what, I don't know what's gone on there, but well done to the club for getting him out on loan very quickly at the start of June, because he is toxic. And I don't even mean like in a leaky way. I mean, I know a lot of people think he's a leak. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But he is toxic. He is toxic to himself towards Man United. He clearly does not like United, or he's completely misjudging what he is saying. I wish I could play against United this season. It's criminal the way they treated me. If that's true, what Luckhurst is saying, that he'd refuse a buyback clause, I mean, it doesn't matter what we think about Henderson. It comes across pretty clearly that he can't stand United. So, really weird that we didn't just try and sell him, because I just don't see that he even wants to come back, whether you want him back or not. And just finally on that, now that I've had a bit of time to think about it, you know, he said it was criminal that he was offered the first team place and then he got COVID, and when he came back he didn't have the first team place. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure he must have played a fair bit of football, and you don't get promised the number 1 shirt or the number 10 shirt unless you're someone like Messi or Ronaldo. And even then, if you're not playing well and someone else plays, you probably shouldn't get your shirt back either. So why he thinks he should have got the shirt from David De Gea when he missed the start of the season, that's football, mate. It's bad luck, but that's football. If somebody's playing better than you, you don't get your shirt back. You have to wait again. That's just the way it works. So, I don't know. Really weird, but I'm surprised we didn't sell him. I still don't understand why we didn't go for Kamara. He was free. It's a shame. Well, we don't know whether Kamara is going to be good at Villa, do we? But, you know, he was free. I do think that, you know, that is a good point, and this is what I was talking about back in January. I never said for 1 minute that Zakaria was going to come to United and be the best midfielder we ever bought, or Kamara, but if you look at the midfield now, beggars can't be choosers, and what I mean by that is, no matter how good Kamara ends up being at Villa, he was a free transfer. Would we be better off with Kamara than no Kamara? Of course we'd be better. You know, I don't mind if we say we don't want Kamara because we're going to get Tielemans, but we've not got either. And that's what I was talking about this morning. I want Anthony. Ten Hag wants Anthony. Would I rather have nobody or Ziyech? Well, I'd rather have Ziyech because we do need players. And that's what surprises me about the whole Zakaria, Kamara, Lema thing is I understand that maybe Ten Hag and the board have said we don't think they're good enough. But beggars can't be choosers. How can you sit there and go, let's not get Kamara for free because we don't think he's good enough? And then the season's starting on Sunday and we've got nobody. Like, you know, it's like coming home from work and, you know, the cupboards are empty and you're hungry and your neighbour knocks on the door and says, we've just ordered a Chinese takeaway. It's all hot, but they've given us a double order. Do you want it? No. No, I'm not really in the mood for Chinese. Oh, so you had one last week. Yeah, I'm not in the mood tonight. Slam the door, nothing's in the fridge. Nothing's in the cupboard. It doesn't make... it does not make sense to me that the amount of deals we could have done and haven't done. And I just don't think you can say, well, we don't think they're good enough. And then I look at what we're doing on Sunday with our midfield and our options and I'll go, well, whether they're good enough or not, it's still an option and it's a better option than what you've got, some would argue, but it still gives you some depth. 5 subs this year, says John Stewart, and other teams are stacking players and seemingly United starts weaker. You know what, John? The 5 sub thing worries me. I haven't really even given it much thought, but I'm looking at teams, certainly Spurs, Chelsea. They're building squads. Like they're building a situation where, you know, their front three of Spurs is Son, Kulusevski, Kane, but Richarlison's on the bench. Like, and they've got that in their midfield as well, and they've got it in defence. Chelsea will be the same. You could argue that Arsenal are sort of working towards that. We can't even put a front three out on Sunday. We should have a sub on the bench that can come on. We should have 2 subs on the bench that come on in the last half an hour. Like, put it like this. Last season, if we had 5 subs, you start Ronaldo, you start Rashford and Sancho, but on the bench, you've got Cavani, Greenwood, and Martial. Like last season, we were in a better position than we are now. And last season was our worst season in years. And in the midfield, if you start McFred, you've got Matic, Pogba who can come on. They're not here anymore. We've just got no depth on the bench. It terrifies me, the 5 sub thing, because we've just got no depth. Hope we get relegated if that's what it takes to get the Glazers out. I don't think that would get the Glazers out, Druv. Ollie made some horrendous promises to players. He's got a lot to answer for basically telling everyone they were great. Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about Ollie. He's in the past, Nick, but you're not wrong. Pig, welcome to the members club. And hi, Mark. I cannot see us finishing in the top 10. I can, Santos. I think we will finish in the top 10. But honest truth, I think 6th is where I'm going to go. Let's have a look at the poll, actually. Let's have a look what people say. Please smash a like on the video, by the way, and make sure you subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Tomorrow, we've got the morning show. Press conference Ten Hag is scheduled for 1:30. So the 2 o'clock show will be the press conference reaction to that. So here we go. Where will United finish? 3rd place, 11% of you think. 4th place, 15% of you think. 5th place, 24% of you think. 49% of you, over half, think we'll finish 6th. So if I was a Man United CEO, board member, coach, player, and I knew that half my fan base was thinking we're going to finish 6th, I'd be bloody worried. I'd be really worried. I mean, the only way is up, but, you know. Manu, welcome to the members club. Just seeing your £1 release clause. Here's your pint, says Joe. Oh, I need to sort that out. Joe. Bloody hell. Do you think we have to keep Garner now, or should he go out on loan? You know what, Lars? What a great point as well. For me, I think Garner needs to go on loan. But because we're so weak in the midfield, we're going to have to keep him. I am doing a watch-along for Arsenal tomorrow. So I'll be doing a 7 o'clock tomorrow to go straight over there. Robert McCormack says, has Beth predicted another title? I don't know what Beth has predicted. I know she's filmed it today with Charlie outside Old Trafford because I've seen them on Twitter. But I think that's going up on Saturday. So we'll see what Beth says. But I don't know many people who are predicting top 4 at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. I suppose the positive is, if we do get top 4, Ten Hag is a miracle worker, and that's what we want. Because right here, right now, the real positive around United, and arguably the only positive around United, is the manager. The preparation is poor. The recruitment is poor. We're not ready. I believe we'll have a good start to the season, but I worry about September, October and beyond. I just don't think we're ready for this season. And the season is not August. The season is August to May, and I just don't think we're ready. And I'll do a little Goldbridge predicts here. We'll beat Brighton on Sunday and we'll play well. And everyone will be pumped up and say we're fine. And they'll be positive, as is their right. But this has happened before. It happened against Leeds last year and it happened against Chelsea a couple of years ago. But I predict that will happen. I think, McTominay might be man of the match as well. So it's happened before and it'll happen again. But then what will happen is September, October will hit. And traditionally, if you think about Mourinho and Ollie, September and October are the months where it starts to go wrong. Tammy, thank you very much for joining the members club. Thank you. Remember, if you want to play fantasy, Justin says, I love Man United, but I'm going 9th. Thanks for the super chat. Remember, if you want to play in the members fantasy Premier League, you can click the join button and join. It's at the top of the chat. Make sure you do that because it starts tomorrow night. And we've also got the Sancho video on there. So thanks to the members. If anyone's joined, then they can click that. Big shout out to Nick as well. And I'll be back in the morning and we've got the press conference tomorrow. So I really hope Ten Hag gets some good questions tomorrow. I'd like to know what his thought is on the lack of transfers. And I'd also like to know what his aim is for the season. I think it'd be really not... There's nothing wrong with asking a Man United manager on the opening press conference of the season, what are your aims for the season? And if he won't give you an answer, say, is top 4 your aim for the season? I want to know what he genuinely thinks, because I think it will enlighten a lot of us. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you in a bit. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the videos today. I was outside Old Trafford this morning, and then we had Adam and Ricky doing their season preview as well. So make sure you check that.